Okay, so again, welcome to our Active People, Healthy Utah Learning Collaborative and Project Implementation Information Session. My name is Alicia Duquara, and I'm the Executive Director at Get Healthy Utah, and excited to talk to you about this learning opportunity that we have today. And I just lost, oh, there you guys are. Okay, I'm going to share my screen and go through a few slides that we have to talk about the opportunity that we have. And then I'll share the application and then open it up for questions and answers for those that are participating. We do have representation on this call from some of our partner group here today, so they'll be able to assist in answering questions, and while you can kind of see some of our friendly faces from our partner group that will be a part of this project. So let me share my screen. Okay. Fun buttons. There we go. All right. Great. So again, this is our Active People, Healthy Utah Learning Collaborative and Demonstration Project. And this all started, Get Healthy Utah convened this group back in 2022, so about a year ago, working under the national framework, Active People, Healthy Nation, which has the goal to help 27 million Americans become more physically active by 2027. And so here in Utah, these are kind of some of our statistics. Get Healthy Utah looks at both eating well and moving our bodies. You can focus a little bit more on the physical activity piece. So we know in Utah, about 55% of adults meet physical activity recommendations, and about 26% of our youth and teens meet physical activity recommendations. We know that compared to other states, we do tend to be a little higher on our rates of physical activity, but we have a lot of opportunity to grow and improve these rates, especially with our younger population, to increase our physical activity. Not only do we look at just our rates across Utah, but we also look at across our communities. You can see here, this is kind of a small chart, but this breaks down physical activity rates by small area or by communities across Utah. So we know that, depending on your community, where you live, there is differences in accessibility, programs, and resources. And we can see that when we look at, physical activity rates across Utah. So on here, it's pulling out a few communities. You can see communities such as Draper and Park City have 70 to 73% of adults meeting recommendations. And then communities like Glendale and Kearns have 34 to 36% of adults meeting physical activity recommendations. So this is an important priority and focus of our active living group, is to address and recognize the disparities across the state when it comes to physical activity rates, and see what we can do to not only improve these disparities across Utah, but within a community. So you might have a certain rate, in your community, but are there certain pockets or neighborhoods or school districts where there might be lower rates of physical activity or lower rates of access or infrastructure and programs that we can improve? So this is a very important piece to this grant opportunity, is to address, recognize, and try to address those disparities and create more equitable access for active living. So how do we do this? It requires a lot of work at various strategies. So this pillar on the right hand of the slide is from that Active People, Healthy Nation framework. And so they talk about the different strategies that we need to improve active living. And it requires, collaboration across various sectors to make these shifts and to make these changes within different sectors and strategies. So I'll kind of just go through some of the examples. Kind of on the top, you have the active friendly routes to everyday destinations. And this is really looking at our connectivity within our communities. What does our pedestrian, bike, and transit transportation systems look like? And what does our land use, our zoning, and environmental design look like? And are our community members able to be active, to navigate and move throughout their communities? Next, we have access to physical activity, places such as parks and recs, green space, shared use agreements, looking at workplace facilities and policies, things that will help us have places to move our bodies. Schools and youth programs, we know that recess and having comprehensive physical education opportunities is very important before, during, and after school. And recently our chair sent us an article about this physical activity gap between our affluent youth and families that are lower to mid income, and that right now being a part of a sports program is now becoming more part of an affluent youth having a higher income. And so we're starting to see more of a gap and less access to these physical activity and sports programs if you are lower income. So addressing that and looking at our affordability and what we're offering to our kiddos for participating in sports and physical education opportunities. Community-wide campaigns, you can consider, events, communications, doing some type of a challenge, getting people engaged and having messaging about how they can move their bodies and increase physical activity. Social supports includes walking or activity groups, or focusing on certain populations like people with disabilities or chronic conditions and having that support to move their bodies. Individual supports include coaching or different technology to help the individual. And lastly, we have prompts to encourage physical activity, which can be signage, wayfinding signs, things within a community to help prompt us to move our bodies and looking at that infrastructure. So to help work across all these different strategies, we have this active living partner group. Here's a list of some of the participating organizations with our partner group right now. Again, as you can see, we do have representation from nonprofits, from our transportation, from outdoor rec, public health, and so forth. And so really the goal with this partner group is to be able to have these experts from these various sectors and connect them with your community. You probably have experts on the ground as well, but being able to tap into some of these organizations and their staff when you're trying to craft your programs during the learning collaborative portion and have some technical assistance as well. And I think some of us might be used to working on a few of these strategies maybe really well, but maybe haven't considered some of these others. And so we can connect you to some of our partners in this group to help look at the other strategies. So this grant opportunity is $10,000 and technical assistance to the awarded communities. We are awarding at least one urban and one rural community. So each will receive the $10,000 in technical assistance. Applications due April 30th, and you can email your application to info@gethealthyutah.org. Morgan, if you can drop a link to the application in the chat. I'm sure most of you have it, but just in case. And the grant project period timeline is July 1 of 2023 through December 31 of 2024. So it is an 18-month project timeline. And the first 6 months will be the learning collaborative piece. And then the next year will be the implementation period. So during the first 6 months, you will have either a new or existing health coalition or team that you're going to pull together in your community that has representation across those various sectors to kind of explore and learn about those different strategies, what's offered in the state, what programs and organizations exist that can help, what does it look like in your community. And we're going to have a few learning sessions where representatives from our partner group will talk about the various strategies, what are best practices, what are different things that we can do. And your team or coalition will kind of participate in those sessions and decide what makes sense for your community. What are you already doing? What are opportunities? What could you be doing? And trying to, again, see what you can do across various strategies. Then you'll go into the project planning sessions where we'll pair you with 1 to 2 of our experts from our partner group and sit down with you and kind of look through a demonstration project plan, which we have a template. There's a link in the application to that template. And this is where you'll kind of think, okay, what strategies are we going to do? How are we going to evaluate it? This is a piece that we really are interested in looking at evaluation and metrics when we work on these various strategies. For those that are Healthy Utah Community designated communities, we haven't really attached too many metrics or evaluation pieces to that designation. So this grant opportunity is an opportunity for us to explore a little further how we can tie some evaluation metrics to the work that we're doing in our community. We're hoping to have a few researchers and evaluators on our team to help assist when we're thinking about the evaluation portion of our project plan. After that 6-month period, that learning collaborative piece, you'll turn in your template, your demonstration project plan of what you're going to plan on doing for the next year, how you're going to evaluate it, what's your budget going to look like? Are there any other resources that you need to be successful? And then you'll have that year to implement it with these technical assistance sessions with your assigned mentors from the partner group to make sure that you're successful in carrying out the plan. Strong applications, we do encourage all Utah City towns and communities to apply. Priority will be given to our cities and towns that do have that Healthy Utah Community designation. If you don't know about that designation, you can go onto our gethealthyutah.org website and learn more, and Morgan can maybe drop a link in the chat to that. But the reason we're giving priority is these communities already have or demonstrated a coalition that has some cross-sector representation and success working on these different projects and strategies. So we'll be looking at that when people apply, if they're already that designated community. We're also going to give priority to communities that are interested in addressing inequitable access. Like I said, that is a focus of our partner group, to really see the pockets and the neighborhoods and communities across Utah that have those lower rates of physical activity, whether it is because of infrastructure or programs, affordability, and so forth. So make sure to include that in your application. We do have a few questions about that, and so writing about your interest and what you're working on with your community. And again, as a reminder, we are planning on awarding 1 rural and 1 urban community, it says county, community will be chosen. So I will stop sharing my screen for a second. If you have questions, you can throw them in the chat, or we will also open it up to everyone to talk. I'm going to share really quick the actual application, and then we can go through questions. So let me share my screen one more time. So this is the actual application. Again, Morgan did throw the link in, so it is a Google Doc or Word doc, so you can just download it, fill it out, and then email it to us. So again, you'll see where you can email it to us at the top, give some background on why we care about physical activity. And again, we know that improving active living is going to improve the health of all our Utahns and quality of life. And I'm going to just pop down to the project specifics, which I did discuss in that PowerPoint slide. But again, having those different pieces, that coalition piece, we really just want to see what do you already have when it comes in terms to collaboration and cross-sector representation, who's already engaged, or who do you plan on engaging? We really want to try to work across those sectors and strategies. And then as we get down into the questions, the last part are the actual questions. So you can see we have about 8 questions for you to fill out. So putting, your description of your coalition, we want to know what you're currently doing, what assets you have, what barriers, recognizing, the needs and barriers of your communities, and what opportunities there are to work on it. Again, that question about disparities and health equity and how we're going to work on improving equity. And then question 7 about strategies. So in this application, you do not have to choose the strategies and say, these are the strategies. That is the 6-month learning period. You'll learn more other strategies and metrics and evaluation pieces during the learning sessions. And you'll fill out that demonstration project plan. So if you click on the link here, this will be the template that you'll turn in at the end of your 6-month learning collaborative piece. For the application, we just want to know kind of what you're thinking. If you already have interest areas in some of these specific strategies, or some partners that you really think will be champions in some of these strategies, we just want to kind of get your thoughts on where you're thinking in terms of those various signposts and those strategies. But you will choose them officially after the 6-month collaboration period. And then why your community should be chosen is the last question. So I just wanted to make sure to show that application as well and go through that. Okay, now we'll officially come to the question and answer period. If you have any questions, you can come off mute or type them in the chat.
want to say thank you for, I'm Jill, down in Sanpete County. I'm with representing Cycle Sanpete, but we just want to say thank you for doing this Q&A, and we're excited to see what we can have happen for our community. We've been working on, I'm sure you guys have heard of the 1,000 mile campaign with Bike Utah. So we've been working really closely with them. We applied for a feasibility study this year, so we're hopeful that we can get it and start planning some bike paths in our community. We're working with the Manti Trail Builders and the Manti Mountain Biking team as well. We just recently got in some trails around in our lake, the Gunnison Reservoir. So we're, lots of fun things happening, and we're hoping to expand programs in the area and make cycling more accessible in the area. So we were wondering, have you guys heard of Green e-bike? It's in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
You have like the cycling stations.
Yes.
So we were thinking some of those would be really fun for our main streets to liven them up again and get people more into biking and cycling, and then they could cruise up the canyon and back. Or and Gunnison has started on their two-way protected bike path, but we were thinking some there would be really fun at the entrance. And well,
that's awesome. Thank you for sharing the efforts that you are working on and some innovative ideas for moving forward. I love that. Any other questions or comments, or any? I know I have a few people from our partner group. If you want to chime in and say anything, say hi.
Actually,
partner group. I
have a question.
Yeah.
How can the funding be spent? Are there restrictions?
Currently, we don't have any restrictions on funding other than using it for this project. And so whether it is staff time to work on the project, if it's actual paying for equipment and infrastructure, using that, paying for incentives for programming, I really can't think of any restrictions as long as it's tied to the actual project. Partner group, do we think of anything? Go ahead. If
it can be used. So it can be used like for overhead. Could it be used for, something like that?
I think to an extent we can include overhead. You'll put part of after your 6-month learning collaborative, that template will have a spot for you to put a budget in. So you'll have that $10,000. And so you'll kind of put what you're thinking, and then our partner group will make sure it makes sense and kind of say, oh, if it's too much overhead, like, okay, let's, can we decrease that and put it towards something else? So that will be more at the end of the 6-month learning period, where you'll actually, because we don't have a budget right now because we're going to have that learning collaborative session, but you will submit it to the partner group at the end of the 6 months, and then we will approve it or ask you to make tweaks depending on what you put. That's a great question. Thank you. Yeah. Other questions or comments? Okay. And I'm going to say, this is a little different. Our last mini grant that Get Healthy Utah offered was just upfront submitting a budget, what you're going to implement, and just be on your way and do it, which is great. This demonstration project, we really wanted to kind of pilot this 6-month learning collaborative piece where we could really connect our local communities to, more of the statewide and organizational experts looking at these different strategies. And so we're excited to have, it'll be a little different where we have this 6-month period to really connect, talk to the different strategies, look at those evidence-based practices, and then really kind of tie in how we can support each other across the state at the local level, between the state level, and all in between with the various nonprofits. So this is our first time kind of adding this 6-month learning collaborative piece. So we're excited to see how it goes, get feedback from communities that are awarded this, and see if it's helpful then compared to just here's some money and ready to go. And so we're excited kind of for this different approach with that 6-month learning period. So that's why, the budget and all that's not right up front. It's kind of going to be within that 6-month timeline. Okay, any other things? We're gonna end early, which is great. That's great. We will have this recorded, so we'll send this out. I know a lot of people register, so we'll send it out to all those that registered. And if you do have any questions that come up, you can email us at the info@gethealthyutah.org. We're happy to answer any questions that come up as you're working on your application. So with that, I'm going to say we'll end our information session. Thank you for those that were able to participate live, and look forward to seeing applications and all the great work that the communities are doing.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.